everybody, welcome back to Elderflower Stitches. My name is Suzy and you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, my blog and in my Etsy shop, and I will pop the links to all of those in the description box below so that you can find me easily. Okay, today is a very special video because I'm going to be sharing some of the, or all of the dresses, skirts and blouses that I have sewn from before I started my podcast. So I only started my podcast quite recently, but I've been knitting and sewing for quite some time before that, so I have quite a few projects that you haven't seen yet, and I thought it'd be nice to share them with you. And then yeah, you can see some of the things that I've made. I'll talk about the patterns that I've used, the fabrics I've used, any adjustments that I had to make to the pattern or any changes that I made, and then maybe reflect on some of them, things that I would do differently next time or what I really like about the garment. Yeah, so that's the plan. I appreciate that me showing you by sitting here is probably not the easiest way to show all of the garments. So what I will do is I've split them into 3 sections and I'll talk about them and I'll show you the garments and show you specific details and talk about the pattern and the fabric and adjustments. And then at the end of that section I will put in a little slideshow of photos of each of the garments. If I've got pictures of me wearing them, then I'll put those in, but if not, I'll just take some full length shots so you can see what the garment looks like and the hemline and that sort of thing. Okay, I think it's time to get started. Let's just go for it. I'm wearing my my boho blush today. This is in a hand-dyed yarn that I talked about. I talked about it as a finished object in my first podcast, and it's super cozy. And today is so lovely because it's just starting to become autumn. The leaves are starting to turn, some of them are starting to fall, and it's beautifully sunny, blue sky, white fluffy clouds, but there's just this little nip in the air. So I wore my boots when I went out this morning, and I put my shawl on just to kind of give me a little bit of extra cozy feeling, and I could not be happier about it. I love autumn. I love the changing of the seasons. I think it's really lovely, and it makes you appreciate each season because there's special things about each season that we enjoy, and as one comes to an end and a new one starts, you can reflect on all the things you enjoyed about summer and then what you have to look forward to about autumn, and you know that the season that you've just had will come back round again. So lovely. Yeah, exciting times. Okay, right, I'm going to try to fiddle with my fringe a little bit less today, but it still does need cutting, so apologies if I'm like keep touching it, it's really annoying me. Okay, so I've split my handmade wardrobe into 2 categories. I've got my sewn garments and knitted garments, and today's video is going to be all about the sewn garments, and then I'll do another video afterwards where I just talk about all of the knitted garments. And I've split my sewn garments into 3 categories. So we have got workwear, and then day dresses and evening dresses. I'm going to start by talking to you about workwear first. So there's a little collection of bits which I designed this collection last year as in some holidays, and I wanted like a new wardrobe for work for that year, and I wanted it to really fit together and work nicely together. So I used the Seamwork collection planner, which is a free downloadable sewing planner from a company called Seamwork. who used to be, I don't know if they're still involved with Colette Patterns, but it was kind of like I think a side shoot from Colette Patterns. They do loads of beautiful patterns as well, but the idea is that you work through this planning tool and it helps you to identify what your palette is, what prints and fabrics you like, what silhouettes and looks that you like, and then work out what specific projects you need to make. I'm very much, as you'll see through the rest of the sewn garments, I'm very much I make something pretty and I wear it a few times and then it goes in the wardrobe kind of person, and I really wanted to get out of that habit and make either individual garments that I wore lots because they went with clothes that I've already got, or make a collection of things that I can mix and match and wear together. So that's what I really focused on with these garments. So my workwear collection that I made consists of 2 dresses, 2 skirts and 2 blouses, one of which I'm throwing at you, and I used coordinating fabrics so that I knew like the colours would go together and it would work well as a little, like a capsule wardrobe. I day to day now don't really wear them as much as I'd like to, because they're all quite formal, and I think that I've got I think I've gone for a more informal way of dressing as I've gone through the year. And looking ahead to this work year, I'll probably make more blouses that I can wear with probably shop bought trousers, because they're just easier to like find the right styles. And yeah, I find sourcing fabrics for trousers quite tricky, so probably will make some blouses and maybe some skirts, and then I'll wear them with cardigans and flat shoes, and it's a bit easier to wear. But these pieces, because they're quite formal pieces, you need to wear quite smart shoes with them, and I don't always want to wear like high heels or super smart shoes, especially if we're doing drama or something like that. Okay, let's just start talking about the garments. Okay, so 2 blouses then. These are both the Sew Over It Suzy Blouse, which is a really sweet simple blouse that has a V-neck and a collar, which is faced, so you've got a facing around the inside of the neckline, and then an option of a short sleeve or a long sleeve, and then it's shaped using bust darts and sort of gentle shaping through the waist. There's no fastenings, which is always a bit of a winner for me, so I'm not keen on having to do lots of buttons and things. I think that's something that puts me off making like a proper blouse. So I made the pattern in 2 colours of the same fabric. This is the Soft Touch Crepe from Minerva Crafts in their blush colour and navy. In the blush one, I made the short sleeve, and I think actually for me the short sleeve is more wearable. Although the long sleeve is slightly warmer, I generally wear a cardigan at work anyway, and then I take it off throughout the day as it gets warmer. So I would probably, next time I make it, just wear the short sleeve. And I had to do a full bust adjustment. I have to do that in basically everything that I make, and it's quite a significant adjustment. So my frame is I'm like out of proportion, so my bust is like 2 sizes bigger than my waist, and then I go back out and again at my hips, so like quite an accentuated hourglass shape, which might sound very, I don't know what the word is, it's sort of seen as a very feminine shape and whatever, but actually it's really quite difficult to buy clothes to fit, particularly things like coats or blouses. Unless it's a stretchy fabric, I really struggle. I basically have to go up to my bust size, and then it's too big on my shoulders, it's too big on the neckline, it's too big around the waist, and it's not very flattering. So that's one of the reasons I got into sewing. That was a bit of a ramble. So I had to do a 2-inch full bust adjustment, and then I had to taper it back in at the waist again because it was still like too big. So in the small of my back, I go in quite a bit, like a sway back, and there was just lots of extra fabric there, which wasn't very flattering. So I made the same adjustment for both blouses, but the only difference with the navy is that I made the long sleeve version. I love both of these, but as I said, I wear the short sleeve one a lot more, and I love the colour of the short sleeve. The tricky thing with navy is when I wear a dark top, I like the bottoms that I'm wearing to be dark as well. So I wouldn't necessarily wear a dark top with light bottoms. I don't know why, I don't think it's a thing. I just sort of make these rules for myself that I then stick to with my clothing. But I don't know, I just feel a bit unbalanced otherwise. But as you'll see from the rest of the bits that I made, I don't have darker bottoms in this, so I don't really wear the navy one very much. But it looks really sweet with a pair of really dark navy jeans and a pair of heels. So those are my Suzy blouses, and yeah, love those. Very nice pattern. I would definitely make it again, but probably in a more casual fabric. I love the crepe, and I'd like to have actually cut out a white one, but I just need to sew it together. But I would quite like to make them in some nice lightweight cottons. Okay, skirts next then. So for the skirts and dresses, I used 2 patterns, again from Sew Over It. I used the Betty and the Joan Dress, and I made both a Betty skirt and a Joan skirt. So the Joan Dress is a pencil skirt with like a quite a simple bodice and a boat neck and kind of this collar. But I just wanted a nice simple pencil skirt, so I made this one. And both the skirts and both of the dresses are from the same fabric, which is like a it's quite a sort of a medium weight suiting fabric. It's non-stretch and it's a woven in light grey. What do I need to tell you about this? So the Joan skirt has got shaping at the waist, so you've got waist darts, and then it's got a vent at the back, and I did like a deep hem, so I did quite a large turn up on the hem, so I overlocked and then turned up about 1.5 inches. I also drafted a waistband to go with it because the Joan skirt is normally part of the dress, so I just drafted a 1.5 inch waistband, which I've just put around the top, and then it's got an invisible zip at the back. So that's the Joan skirt. Then we have the Betty skirt. So the Betty dress is again like a boat neck bodice with a V-neck back and then a circle skirt, and I just used the skirt pattern. Oh, it does not want to stay on the hanger today. Let's try and get that on there. Stay put. Okay, so this is a full circle skirt, again in the same grey fabric, and I did the hem by overlocking and just turning up 3/8 of an inch and then just stitching it down. It's got an invisible zipper at the back as well, and I think that's it. I wear the Joan skirt more than the Betty skirt because it's quite light and easy to wear, whereas the Betty skirt, as you can see where it keeps falling off the hanger, it's quite heavy. It's quite a lot of fabric to be hanging off the waistband, and I used like a lightweight interfacing. I probably should have used more like a medium weight interfacing, or like a soft heavyweight one, it would have worked a bit better. So that's the Betty skirt. And then we have the 2 dresses. So for this, I cut the same bodice. So I used the Betty bodice because it's a nice boat neck style. And nothing wants to stay on the hangers today. There we go. Boat neck style, so it's nice and modest in terms of kind of not showing too much. And then I used the Betty add-on pack sleeve, which again I finished the hem with overlocking and just turning it up. It's got a V-neck at the back, bust darts and waist darts on the skirt. It's got a vent at the back again. And then I lined it with some peach polyester, or just polyester lining. And then this one is the Joan skirt. I don't know if I told you that. The lining was from Minerva Crafts as well, so just a Joan skirt on that one. I had to do a bit of fiddling around because the Joan and the Betty darts at the waist didn't quite sit in the same place, so I had to move them a little bit, but I managed to work that out. And the last piece from my workwear is a Betty dress. So the Betty bodice, this, I don't know why it's doing this on the hanger, but when I wear it, it doesn't roll like that. Very strange. So Betty bodice, do you see the lining is rolling out? When I wear it, it doesn't do that, but I think it's probably just the weight of the skirt is pulling and then it's twisting it open. So Betty bodice, short sleeve, bust darts, waist darts, and then a full circle skirt. Again with an overlocked and turned up hem, invisible zipper at the back. And I'm happy with the dress, it's nice, I do wear it, but like I said with the Betty skirt, it's a lot of fabric and it's quite heavy. I think next time, rather than lining the bodice, I would interline, which I will show you I have done for one of my evening dresses, and it's worked so nice. It's really stabilised the fabric and it's made it much more substantial without compromising the look of the fabric. So I would definitely do that next time because that would help to hold some of this weight up, because it's a lot of weight for quite a flimsy bodice. I would also not use the suiting fabric because it was quite difficult to press and the darts became quite bouncy and it took a lot of work to get them to lay flat. And that makes it really difficult because then each time you wash them, they don't hold very well. So you then have to like really press the darts again. So it becomes quite unmanageable for like a wardrobe staple to be that much hard work for washing and ironing. So next time I would probably use a different fabric, and I think I'd probably go with like a wool mix or like a flannel, something that had a bit more structure to it but that would press a bit more smoothly basically. Okay, I'll pop in some pictures now of some full length pictures of the garments, and I'll get my day dresses ready. really pretty section then. So here we have all of my cotton day dresses, of which there are quite a few. These are my most worn pieces that I make. The cotton day dress is something that I would wear for like a nice day out, or to work, or like to a kind of like a summery daytime party, that kind of thing. So I have quite a few of them, and they're a mixture of two main patterns and then a couple of others. So we have another Betty dress, and this is in a pretty cheap poly cotton. It's a pale blue with little white flowers on, and then it's just lined with just a cheap white polyester lining fabric. It's so the same style as the grey workwear dresses, but without the sleeves. So this is a sleeveless version, and it's made with an all-in-one facing, so you face the neck hole and the armhole together. And I use the instructions on the Sew Over It YouTube channel on how to do the facing. And with a circle skirt and an invisible zip. Didn't overlock the facing there, so don't look at that. Yeah, I love this dress, really sweet, really like wearing this one. I just hadn't learned how to do the full bust adjustments when I'd made it, so I get a bit of gaping here because there's too much fabric across the high bust, across the chest, and then I just sort of graded it in to the waist, so it doesn't quite fit as nicely as the grey ones fit. But it's still very wearable, and I normally would put a shawl over or a cardigan anyway. Yep, so that's one more Betty. You'll never guess what's up next. Oh, lots of excitement. Sorry, all the local dogs just started started barking. Must have been something outside, probably some squirrels. So this is another Betty dress, another cheap poly cotton from Minerva Crafts. Just a white background with pink and purple flowers and some like yellowy flowers, and the nice, I like the trailing leaves as well. Again, I didn't know how to do a full bust adjustment, so I do get some gaping around the front armhole, but it's done with an all-in-one facing and full circle skirt. And when I do the circle skirt hem, I just overlock and turn it up about 3/8, which you need an iron with you to do that. That is the main trick. I wear this one a lot. It's had a lot of use and a lot of love. Probably one of my most worn. I think I've got two dresses, one more that I'll show you, that are like just my most worn, and that Betty dress is one of them. Another Sew Over It now, another floral, but this time not a Betty dress. This is a Sew Over It vintage shirt dress. So it has a blouse collar, a button up front, short sleeve. The shaping in the bodice this time is done using gathers on the shoulder yoke, and then it's more of a pleat than a dart. So I don't know if you can see that this is a fold rather than coming to a point, which actually I'm not a fan of, and next time I would just do a dart, and I would probably do just a circle skirt or a straight skirt with this. So it's kind of like a full A-line but with a pleat at the waist. Yeah, slightly bigger turned up hem, and the facing goes all across the back and all the way down the front, which is a technique that once I'd learnt that I then used in a more self-drafted pattern. But it's a lovely dress, and this fabric is from Closs and Hamlin, which is a fabric shop that's based, I think, in the southeast. I think there's a few more around, but it's mostly across the southeast, like Brighton, and I'm not even going to try and guess, but there's one local to us, but I don't think it's everywhere. But it was reasonably cheap. I think it was like £7 a metre. You could probably get it cheaper than that online, and Minerva Crafts have such a huge collection of floral polycottons that actually you're probably better off looking there if that's what you're after. Another sew over it, but again not a Betty dress. So this is a sew over it Rosie dress. I used the wider strap and the collar variation. So it's got a collar that goes all the way around the dress, which looks really sweet when it's on. It's lined with, again, just a sort of cheap polyester lining, and the bodice is princess seam bodice, so there is a seam all the way from here down to the waist, and it's a curved seam, so that's how you get the shaping, so there's no darts, and it's princess bodice at the back as well. So you have the side panels and then the centre back panels, and at the front you have side panels and centre front panels. The skirt, so the bodice I love. The skirt has got this panel down the front, which is then pleated here. Can you see that goes in? And then it's gathered all around the sides. This, for me, I don't feel is my best look. So I think I prefer anything that's not bulky around my waist. So either a straight skirt that's got darts, or an A-line, or a circle skirt. So anything with this kind of gathering. I really feel self-conscious that it's like really bulky and really big. So I think this with a straight skirt would have been so cute, and I might see if I can somehow make an adjustment to make an alteration to the skirt so that it looks like that, because it's a shame not to wear it. But yeah, I don't feel confident in it. So yeah, this fabric, you'll never guess, is a cheap polycotton from Minerva Crafts. Absolutely nothing to do with Minerva Crafts. I just love that they have such a huge range, and they're really reliable, really quick delivery, and really reasonable prices. So I think they're great, but they don't pay me to say that. I'm just a regular customer. Okay, next dress, and I need to show you a book, because all the next 5 dresses are all taken from this book. So I have had this book for years now. It's getting quite tatty. You can see I've even post-itted the sections that I use the most. It's called So Many Dresses, So Little Time by Tanya Whelan, and this book is amazing. You basically have, there's the usual sewing guide stuff at the beginning that you get in sewing books, but you basically have a set of bodice patterns, skirt patterns, sleeve patterns, and then instructions on how to add whichever neckline and collar you would like to it. So in the book you have all of these different patterns, but you kind of make them yourself by selecting which bodice you like, selecting which skirt you like, and putting them together. And it's amazing. It's like introductory fashion design for the kind of the beginner intermediate sewer. So I love the basic bodice, and this is what all of the dresses I'm about to show you are using, this pattern. And then there is also, are they all a straight skirt? Yeah. And then my favourite skirt is the photos in this also are so beautiful. This one not so much, but it's this is the straight skirt. So with that you could make so many lovely dresses, just combining all the different kinds of bodices and skirts and then necklines and sleeves. But I just stuck with the straight skirt and the basic bodice and created these. So the first three I made for the Vintage Nostalgia Festival, which is down in the West Country, and we went this May, and I just wanted some kind of vintagey themed dresses that I could wear again at other times. So this is using the basic bodice and straight skirt pattern from the So Many Dresses. I then used the instructions to draft my own Peter Pan collar, and used what I had learnt from the Sew Over It vintage shirt dress to draft my own button up front. And then I also used some online instructions to draft pockets. So these are front pockets. So it's cut into the panel of the skirt front. And then it's just got a simple overlocked and turned up hem, full bust adjustment as usual. But yeah, that's my little peach polka dot dress. I love this one. It was such a cute picture of wearing that dress with this shawl, and I made with these dresses, these three, I made my husband matching bow ties, which he is very good and he did wear when we were down at the Vintage Nostalgia Festival. It was really sweet. Okay, next one again is a basic bodice and straight skirt, button front and a Peter Pan collar, but this time I decided to do it in contrasting white. Full bust adjustment again, front pockets again, and turned up hem. The facing for this is like the facing in the vintage shirt dress, so it goes all across the back neckline. It does the armholes and the front here. Well, I kind of drafted that bit with the armholes myself because the vintage shirt dress doesn't have armholes, it has sleeves. That fabric again was from Minerva Crafts, so was the peach one. Did I say that? I don't think so. This one is another basic bodice, straight skirt in this pale yellow with blue roses. So it's an all-in-one facing, pockets on the front. Shall I show you? Oh, so it's an invisible zip. I can show you what I mean by the all-in-one facing. So if you haven't seen one before, you might be thinking, what's she talking about? So a facing is used to keep the seam allowance from the neckline or the armhole inside. So you would stitch it right sides together and then you turn the facing inside. So this is the seam allowance, and I sewed it right sides together and then I pulled the facing onto the inside and then you press it inside so that you then can't see any seam allowances from the outside, and from the inside it just looks like this. It looks really nice and tidy, and I think it's easier than a neck hole and armhole facing. Okay, two more day dresses. You can tell they're my favourite. These two I made at roughly the same time, and I'm afraid the fabrics were from just the local haberdashery, so I don't know if you'll be able to get hold of them, but they're just cotton, and this print is probably one of my favourite fabrics. This is my other most worn dress, so my white flowery Betty and this dress I've worn so much, with a little tam belt, baby blue crew neck cardigan and little sandals or loafers. It's just my favourite to wear. This is the basic bodice, straight skirt, no pockets on this one because I hadn't learned how to do that yet, but it's got a separate neck hole and armhole facing, and you'll see me, I was like tucking them back in because it just pops out. I also didn't have an overlocker when I made these, so they're a bit a bit older than the other dresses, a few years old, but I love them. I don't wear the pink one as much. I find the pink dresses kind of, maybe they look a bit more sugary, and that's okay sometimes but not all the time. But this yellow one, oh, I wear it so much. Love it. It's so pretty. So that's it for day dresses. And next up is evening dresses, which I've got some very... Evening dresses then. Here we go. We have 5 of these, which I'll go through each of them, and the patterns and the fabrics. Now we have got this first one is using the basic bodice and straight skirt from the So Many Dresses book, but I did it with a V-neck at the back, a bit like the Betty dress, and then a scooped neckline, which the book gives you instructions on how to do it yourself. And I had learnt to do a full bust adjustment, so this fits really nicely. I also had learnt to do a sway back adjustment, so there's a bit of fabric that I've taken out from here, and you can probably see that the waistline goes up, and that's because I don't need as much fabric here. I've quite like a short back. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but yeah. So that's lovely. This fabric was from Closs and Hamblin, and I think it was from their remnants section, but it's basically a white or ivory crepe with lovely flowers on. Yeah, very nice. Then I have 3 Sew Over It Eve dresses in the same fabric that I made my 2 Suzy blouses from. So it's a soft touch crepe, and this is the light pink, and I think this was called sky blue and navy. So all of these were just completely the same pattern. The Eve dress is lovely because you don't have any zips or any buttons to do. It's a proper wrap dress. So you have like you have a little hole where the tie comes through on one side, and you tie it. I pull it around the back and then tie it at the front, or you can tie it at the back, however you want. The shaping is done through gathers at the yoke, a bit like the vintage shirt dress, and then it's just the bodice is shaped across the front, so there's no darts in the waist area. And then it's a beautiful skirt with a dipped hem, which would be much easier for me to show you in a picture. So I don't know whether I'll be able to show you that. What else? I probably should have overlooked that really. Oh, it's got this beautiful sleeve, which is a bell sleeve, which is really flattering. And yeah, just a lovely dress to wear. So easy to wear, and that's in the navy. So I'll put some photos so you can see how lovely the hem looks. But those are really lovely dresses. I always get really nice compliments on those dresses when I wear them, because I think they look quite technical and hard work, but actually the instructions are so clear. It's quite simple to put together, and there's no zips and no buttons. So although it could be tricky if you use a fabric like crepe, which is a bit moves around a bit, the actual construction is, yeah, it's manageable. And then my final dress to show you today, there is one other dress that that I have made, but I think it probably deserves its own video one day because it's a very special white dress. I'm sure you can probably guess. Yeah, I think that it deserves its own video, so one day I will dig it out of its special box and I'll tell you all about that one. But for now, this is the last dress I'll show you. So this is a combination of techniques that I've learnt through making all of these dresses. So it's a basic bodice, and I scooped out a little keyhole and made some bias binding to go round and tie it up. I added the Eve dress bell sleeve and the Eve dress dipped hem skirt, and I interlined. So this is a crepe, but it's not the soft touch crepe that I used for the blouses. It's slightly heavier, but still not heavy enough for doing all of the bust shaping. So I interlined with a red, I'm going to show you, a red cotton. And it completely changed the structure of the fabric, but as you can see from the outside, it doesn't look any different, though the skirt is slightly sheerer because you don't have the interlining behind it, but it's a dark colour so it doesn't show up anyway. It just, yeah, it completely changed the way the fabric hangs and the structure of it to hold like the bust darts and the neckline and everything. So I would definitely do that again with evening pieces that I want to have a bit of structure but still be kind of drapey and feminine. I also made Jo a matching bow tie to wear with this one, and the navy crepe dress because we wore it to a special event. So yeah, that looked really sweet. Is that it? Do I need to tell you anything else about this dress? I had some real trouble with this dress because I'd bought a zip online and then it was rubbish and it broke. So like the day before I was trying it on, did the zip, and it just like the zip went up and then the zip opened all the way up and I was like, oh no. So I had to go and buy a zip last minute and take it all out, put it back in, which I was so nervous of because it's crepe, it's quite fragile, but I made it. I made it, it was finished, I wore it, it was lovely. But yeah, it was a bit of a stressful finish, as I mentioned in my first podcast. I also made a little, like the Eve dress, made a little tie that just goes round the waistband, which is nice. Okay, wow, I think that's it for my handmade wardrobe for the sewn garments. As I said, I'll do a separate one that's all of my knitted garments that I've made so far. There are not as many knitted pieces as there are sewn because I've been sewing for a lot longer than I've been knitting. Enjoyed having a little look through my handmade wardrobe and all the things that I've been sewing over the last few years, and I will at some point dig out that special white dress and do a separate video all about how I made that and everything. But for now I think I'm going to finish with a little bit of shop news for you. So I don't know whether you've been following my vlogs or on Instagram. Basically my shop is almost empty. I think I've got one progress keeper set in there whilst I'm filming this, so that's amazing, and I'm really grateful for everyone who's allowed me to to share what I've been making with them. So thank you very much if you've bought something from my shop. I will be updating my shop next week that update will contain a restock of my boho collection, so you will be able to get the boho bee, the boho birdie and the boho love progress keeper sets again. So if you missed out or you want to get another one, then they'll be up in the shop next week. But also, very excitingly, there will be seasonal exclusives. So there will be an autumn exclusive progress keeper set, which will be autumn themed, and that will go live next week as well. I'm very excited to share that with you because, as you know, I love autumn and I love progress keepers, so it's like two of my favourite things in one, and I think that you're going to love it. Yeah, very excited to show that to you. In other shop news, yarn. I had really nice responses from people who were interested in my yarn colourways, and they were like, yes, absolutely, you should do pre-orders, and I really was grateful that people expressed an interest in that. So what will happen is I'm going to work on a super secret colourway. I'll work on it and then I'll share with you the colourway on a range of different bases, and then I will list the yarn for pre-order on my Etsy shop. Because it will be a pre-order, there won't be a limit on quantity, so if you wanted to get sweater quantity, you wouldn't need to like panic buy or worry that it would sell out, because it's a pre-order. You could order as many as you like, different bases, however you like. The listing would be live for 1 week, and then the listing will close, and I will gather up all of the orders and dye them up and send them out. To make it extra special, each of the yarn pre-orders, so each person who orders some yarn would get an exclusive progress keeper set that kind of fits the theme of the colourway. I have a really exciting idea in mind for my first colourway and the progress keeper set that would come with it. But I also am going to work on some project bags, and they would be available for pre-order as well. The reason I'm going to do them as pre-order is that I know some people want to make socks, so they want a small project bag. Some people want to make a jumper, so they want a big project bag. So I will make the project bag in 3 sizes, small, medium and large, like a 1 skein, a 2 skein and an up to 4 skein size project bag. It will also fit with the yarn colourway theme, and I'll share that with you when I share the yarn. And again, it will be listed for 1 week for pre-order, and then I'll gather up all of the orders together and I'll sew them up. So it'll be a very lovely, busy, crafty week for me, dyeing yarn and making project bags. And then I would send out all of the orders together. As an extra special thank you for if you pre-order a project bag, there would also be an exclusive progress keeper set that comes with that, but it will be different to the one with the yarn. If you're thinking, oh, I'd quite like some yarn and a project bag and both progress keepers, I will do a special listing for people who would like to get like a set all together and maybe get a little discount from doing that. And I'm thinking, if you were to get the full set, I might pop a super secret treat in there, knitting related, but a super secret treat in there just for just to say thank you really for letting me share my creations with you. So if you're interested in my yarn dyeing or project bag making, or getting your hands on some exclusive progress keepers, then watch out for updates on my Instagram. You can favourite my shop so that you get updates on my Etsy, but I will do a separate video that's like shop update and make it really clear when the listing is opening and when it's closing, so you'll have plenty of time to get yourself organised for it. I think it will probably be early to mid-October, if that helps for you to kind of plan out when you're going to treat yourself to some yarn and things. So between now and then, I'm gonna have to be really good at keeping surprises quiet. But yeah, I'm really excited to share some yarn and project bags and exciting new things with you. So thank you very much for kind of being on this journey with me and for showing an interest in what I'm doing. And yeah, thank you very much. I look forward to telling you about my shop update soon, and I'll be back with some more rambly vlogs and yeah, another podcast when I've got some finished objects to share with you. See you soon, guys. Bye.